live. We're going to hit 30 degrees here today, which in southern Tasmania, as close as we are to the Antarctic, that's a pretty hot heat. And my little craft room sort of faces onto where it's going to be coming in mostly. So I thought I would try and get underway a little bit sooner than 10:30 and hopefully get myself organised and out of here by that time, by 10:30, so I can get out and enjoy some of the sun, I suppose, and keep away from the heat. Tassie girl here, not used to the heat at all. Probably others would scoff at that, but anyway, let's go. Today I'm going to start looking at the Artfully Layered Suite collection. It comprises of the Artfully Layered dies, the stamp set, the Tropical Layers dies, and it's got some other lovely bits and pieces in there as well that I'm sure you want to grab when they become available to customers on the 3rd of January. I'm really starting to really enjoy the new products at the moment, so I find it really hard to concentrate on stuff that's already out. So forgive me if I've leapt forward a bit. Obviously, the designs and the products, you can always substitute in stuff you've got at home as well if you like the overall design. So thank you everyone who's watching. I can see there's a fair few people jumping on already. Lovely. Thanks for joining me earlier. We've got Barb. Good morning, Barb. And a few others there as well. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 cards for you today. This little one here at the front of this little pack here is just a really simple stamp and cardstock paper card, but I wanted to use it to highlight a few of the stamps in the stamp set, and to show you don't really need, you can just create quite an effective card with just cardstock and ink. You don't really need to go overboard and get all the bells and whistles, although you probably it would be great if you did, but you can start off with your simple cards and get pretty much guaranteed success with just cardstock and paper. So this one's just a cute little happy birthday card, all from the stamp set here, and we've got some lovely colours. The designer series paper that comes with the pack is this one here. I'll show you a few of these pages once we get started. And if you're a bit colour challenged like me, it gives you a list of the colours you can use that go together just wonderfully. So really, I don't have to think too much ahead. I know I'm going to use Evening Evergreen, Just Jade, Pear Pizzazz, Pale Papaya, all those colours that I know I've got and that will go together just nicely with this suite. Okay, so let's get started with this one. I'll just show you some of the stamps and some of the colours that are recommended. I've got a Pear Pizzazz card base, usual size, 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, scored in the middle, and a panel of basic white, which is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So I'll grab the stamp set and show you some of the wonderful stamps. So we've got this, it's very reminiscent of the Tropical Chic stamp set that we had a few years ago, which was one of my favourites. So I was quite happy to see the sort of concept come back of this sort of tropical leaves. And this here, my mother had what she called a monstera. I don't know whether that was actually a name or whether it was a name my mum made up. It was like an indoor plant and had big leaves like this, sort of like big as a dinner plate sort of thing, this plant that mum, so it's always quite reminiscent of my mum's front room. Obviously the only place, her being a Tassie girl as well, the only place she could actually grow something like that was her front room. So yeah, it always reminds me of being at home with her. Always nice things to be reminded of. Okay, so I've got the big sort of sweepy fern frond sort of thing, what I'm going to call the monstera for my mum. Got these little one here, which looks like it's probably little, sort of supposed to be the leaves off another little tropical plant, little heart-shaped leaves. So I'm going to think about that a bit more in the future and see if I can't sort of think of a way of incorporating that into something as a series of hearts. You can see they're better on that side. I'm going to use the birthday, so I'll block that up as well. And what else am I using? Oh, this, yeah, quite unusual in this one, and I really like it. We've got some of this sort of just random script. I suppose if you popped it through Google Translate, you'd probably get something out of it. It sort of looks Latin-y. Maybe it's Latin names for the various tropical plants. Who knows? I might have to pop it into Google and see what comes up. So I'm going to use that one as well. So I'll block that up as well. Not quite big enough. I need a bigger block. Should have done this before. After saying I was going to go earlier, I thought to myself, oh, well, that means you probably need to get set up. So I've been rushing around, probably getting myself more hot and bothered than I probably would have, getting myself all set up, ready to go. So the colours I'm going to use are Bumblebee, which is one of the ones suggested on the designer series paper. I'm going to use, sorry, I just bumped things then, Evening Evergreen, another one that's suggested, Pale Papaya, one of my favourite new in colours, and Pear Pizzazz, which is just one of my favourite colours overall. So they're the 4 colours I'm going to use on the front there. So we might get started. I'm going to pop the sentiment on. As I say, it's all gone a little bit blurry, has it? Just bear with me. I'll try and stay still for a second so my focus comes back. Terrible trouble at work during the week. Every 5 minutes I'd look at my camera, and we had lots and lots of Zoom meetings this week. And every 5 minutes I'd look at my camera and everything would be blurry or out of focus. I'm thinking, hey, cameras don't like me this week, and it could be continuing through to the weekend as well. I'm just going to pop the happy birthday just in the bottom right-hand corner. A little bit out of the way, because really we're focusing on the stamps for this, the image stamps for this one, not particularly the sentiments, although they are nice. It's actually quite a good all-rounder. We've got a birthday that actually says birthday, so you don't have to stretch the imagination there too much. We've got sending all the hugs, hey there, and thank you. So a good all-round sort of just general. I've got some weird stuff happening on my screen. Just general sort of stamps there as well, if you haven't got a whole lot of capacity for stamps in your stamp room. But we'll get with that. Just missing a few of the things. 26 where Cheryl is already. Yeah, I don't know that I'd cope, Cheryl, to be honest. As I say, Tassie girl here. Monsterio Delucio. Oh, Grubila. We had one in the garden. Well, there you go. You had it in the garden. My mum had it in her front room. She was a bit of an indoor plant freak back then, back in the 60s and 70s, my mum, where I was growing up. She sort of beat the trend, because everyone wants the indoor plants now, don't they? Okay, so I'm going to take our big, and let's see if that's actually one of the names on the back of this, or if I can just see if that's, no, I can't read it enough to see whether that's one of the Latin names on the back here. But anyway, let's have a look. So I'm going to use our big Monsteria, since we've decided that's what we're going to call it. And I'm just going to sort of put that image sort of randomly, as random as I can go. You guys know me, I'm not into random really, all around. Now this is just a pencil line image, this one, this main image here. I'm going to go off the edge, so make sure you're stamping somewhere you don't mind a bit inky. Yeah, it's just a pencil line stamp, but in one of the future next cards I do, I'm actually going to colour it in. It comes up quite well. Quite pleased with it actually. So stay tuned. But in this particular one, I'm just going to use it as it comes, just as a sort of line drawing. So that was also in the Evening Evergreen. Then I'm going to bring in the sort of fern frondy, sort of reedy sort of one. Don't know, that's actually a recognisable species. And I'm going to bring in my Pear Pizzazz. And I'm going to pop this one around as well. And because the big leaf is just sort of a line drawing, we can come in and around and overlap that without it looking too bizarre. And I'm going to use first generation and second generations off the one stamp. So just bringing it in as a faint leaf in places as well. So I'm just giving it a little bit of a background here and there with the fern leaf. Where else do I want that? On here. I'm trying to stay away from the sentiment as much as I can, although I'm sort of leaving lots of space around there. I did want one there, but I think that's going to overlap things a bit much. I might do a second gen there. Okay, so there we are. We've got a bit of a jungle happening behind the scenes there, which is quite nice. My camera might be a little bit close today. Okay, so now what we're going to bring in is our little heart-shaped leaf, our smaller leaf. And I'm going to bring that in with just a little bit of a oomph of colour. I'm going to use the pale papaya. Okay, and this one's just going to add a little zing of colour all around. And it's all pretty random, just wherever you feel. This one's going to be like totally different to the first one. It's the way with card making. They're never using the same ink, the same paper, same colours, and everything is always different. Okay, so we've got a little bit of zimp of colour there. I'll bring that, you can have a look. So we're definitely building up some pretty tropical, that must be the influence today. That's why the weather's turned warm. In Tassie, we tend to get, I was looking it up today, our average summer temperature, it says on the web, is low 20s. So over the summer period, we tend to average low 20s. But every now and then we get a big day that sort of tends to put us up with the rest of the capitals in heat-wise. But it happens like once or twice a year, we might get to 30, 32, 33, that's in Celsius, of course. And then everybody talks about it for the next 10 years, you know, the heat wave of 92 or the sandstorm of 2017. It's like becomes legendary. It's quite funny. Old guys sort of hanging around in supermarkets chatting about the weather 20 years ago, but yeah, it tends to get remembered. I'm going to use the little script now, and I'm using I'm talking and not, this is the bumblebee, and I'm going to stamp off once because I don't want this to overshadow everything else, but I want it just to fill in some of the little gaps around. Don't like gaps, but also because I wanted to show you this really cute stamp, which is sort of handy. It just sort of gives things that little bit of almost sort of newspaper almost feel to it. Definitely a sort of more interesting background than just white. Here we are. That might do me, I think. Maybe just one there where it's a bit plain. Okay, so that is all the stamping I'm going to do. But you can see there I've used all the images from the stamp and one of the sentiments. So that's all the images from the stamp that we've used, just to give you an idea of what they actually look like with one of the sentiments. Okay, so now I have to stop myself because it's supposed to be a simple stamping project that even a beginner can do. My natural tendency now is to put that through an embossing folder, but I have to fight that tendency. I have to fight it because it was going to be as I say, a stamp and paper only. So that one there, that's all the stamping I'm going to do. And I'm going to pop it onto my card base, which is my pear pizzazz, which will bring that pear pizzazz from that leaf out like that. And I'm not even going to use ribbon. I'm being so good. Ribbon, I might pop some, I'll show you the embellishments that come with the suite. This one's really, really worth getting or waiting for and then getting. Someone at Stampin' Up knows my preferences because I keep bringing out these beautiful greens and blues and and leafy designs, which I absolutely adore. So we've got that there. I was going to try and find where did I put you guys? The embellishments that come with the pack have gone missing, and I definitely wanted them later on. Here we are. These are really interesting. They're called faux sea glass shapes, and they are exactly that. They just look like, I don't know, sometimes people throw glass bottles and things into the sea, and over the decades they get ground down, and you often pick them up on the beach, and they're just all these little random shapes and sort of the colours that glass jars would be if they would been in the sea for decades and decades, sort of thing. So yeah, they're really, really, I'll take them out of the pack, and we might use a couple on this one just to oomph it a wee bit. Yeah, so they're really interesting. We've got them in, I suppose this is a just jade, and this would be a pear pizzazz or very pale old olive, and this is just a plain white ones. But yeah, they just look like, those little bits of glass that sort of wash up on the beaches. So I might just use the white ones, and they're all sort of, I know there's 5 of each shape, but they all look like a random shape, which is really cool. So there's some big ones and some medium, randomly sized big ones, and some randomly sized little ones. They don't really stand out all that well, so I'm just going to keep them around the sentiment just to highlight that a bit. And I'll use some of the other ones on the other cards. So I'll just keep them around there. They don't really glimmer as such. They're sort of flat and sort of matte in texture, just as you would expect that weathered glass to be. So there's our first card, and to be honest, it is very simple, and probably more simple than anything I would normally do, but I just wanted to show you those stamps so you knew what we were building on in the next couple of cards. Okay, so let's get to the next one. I don't know which one to do first. I've got 2 designed. I haven't made them yet, but they're made in my head. I've decided to go with my first thoughts and actually do a bookbind card. I know I'd sworn off them until the new year, but they are just such a perfect card for highlighting designer series paper and ribbon and embellishments. I thought I was just absolutely just mad if I didn't do one. So we all know I'm not mad generally, so I thought I would do one anyway. I just wanted to show you this awesome ribbon. I didn't know what to do with it to start with. The suite's called layered. What is it called? What did I call it? Was layered. Artfully Layered is the name of the suite. And you really do layer these things up. They really do lend themselves to layering. And this ribbon, which comes with the suite, or is part of the suite, is called the frayed ribbon, which really, and it's quite thick. It's probably the best part of an inch thick, isn't it? Well, three-quarters of an inch thick. But you just want to touch it. It's just one of those things that you just want to, if it was on a card, I'd be wanting to rub my hands over it. And I do want to rub my hands over it the whole time. It's just the fraying is just great. And it's all frayed. Looks like it's frayed along the edge, but obviously it's meant to be that way on purpose. But it's just going to add real texture and depth to the card. So I think we sort of think a lot into our cards, don't we? Obviously the care we put into them. Okay, so this is going to be my bookbind card. I've started with the Just Jade, and as my usual bookbind cards, this is, and she reminds herself, 11 inches long. It's scored at 5.5, and it's scored at 4, and it's 4 inches wide. So 4 by 11, scored at 4 and 5.5. So that little part there becomes our book spine there, the bit there when we seal this down and we actually decorate this little 4x4 card that flicks open at the side. I've got a little 3 7/8 square panel that I'm going to pop inside there, which I might do now just so I don't find myself stamping on it for something, because we're going to, I'll stamp, no, I think that's the end of my, yes it is, that's the end of that one. I'll get some glue. So I don't find myself stamping the images. I've got to stamp a few images in a second. So I'll just finish that off with some glue. So that's just going to go just on the very outside where it's not going to seal away. There we are. Okay, so I've got some of this designer series paper that I mentioned, which is really, really nice. So there's lots and lots of different patterns in here. I'll show you. Oh, sorry, just smashed my camera. I'll show you the one I'm using is this one. So this one's really sort of the patterns are really bold and sort of solid, and the dies do actually fit these individual images. So if you're not into stamping and colouring, you can actually colour these. You could just die cut these out and sort of work your way around the packet and get quite a few actual little cards out of that. But I'm going to use it as a whole piece, and I'm going to use the other side, which is a lovely Just Jade sort of candy stripe on my card as well. So what I've done is I've cut myself. I originally started that would be a 3 3/8 square piece of cardstock, and I've used this really cool edging die that's in the die set, which hopefully I popped away when I used. No, where is it? Eek. Where did I put you? And I've tidied up and everything. It must have popped out of the stamp set somewhere. But anyway, there is a really nice edging die, she says, desperately trying to find it, which I can't find, that produces stalling. Anyway, you can imagine what an edging die looks like. I'll have to find it. It might have dropped on the floor. No, can't see it on the floor. Anyway, it produces this little zigzag edge. I'll just pop it up against my hand there. Must be under the mess to the right-hand side somewhere. This little cute zigzag edge. So I've actually zigzagged, and it's got a stitch. It's a stitched zigzag edge, little edging die there. So I've popped it through there, and I've popped it through that side. And so I'm just going to make this one a tiny bit different because it's going to have that highlight zigzag. And I've done the same with this one. So a little zigzag stitch on either side. I'll bring something up so you can see it. Probably not the best colour. Little zigzag edge on that one as well. And that's the one that's going to sit there. So that's originally this one would have been 1 3/8 wide, and then I've just taken the little bit off with the zigzag as well. So I've got both of those to go on. So I might pop those on now. Now the cool bit about this is that our ribbon that is, as I said, about 3/4 of an inch wide, does actually fit pretty perfectly just down the middle of that the gap that I've left between my two stitched zigzags. So what I'm going to do, I'll put this on first. So I'll put that piece of paper on as well. So what I'm going to do is get my really beautiful tactile chunky ribbon and pop it on the spine before I seal it up. So there's our two front panels thing. You can see that little zigzaggy seam there. So before I seal up my book spine, I'm going to bring in this beautiful ribbon, and I'm just going to lay it. That's where it's going to sit, tucked in at the ends. I know that covers over a lot of my beautiful designer series paper, but I think you can see enough of it either side, and it just seemed to fit so perfectly that it was meant to be. So I decided to go with it. Since my snails run out, I'm going to have to use double-sided tape. I think I've got a refill somewhere. I'm not quite sure. I have to put an order in anyway. Anyone who's watching who is doing my, well, it's going to turn into January because that'll be by the time I get everything ordered and sent out, ombre specialty designer series paper class, if you could make sure you've got your payment in by December 24, Christmas Eve, that would be great because I'm going to put the order in over the Christmas break, and I want to order all the little packs of ombre specialty paper, and so I've got to get some ribbons and stuff over the Christmas break. Exciting news for those who don't know or aren't friends with me on Facebook. Well, actually, I don't know that even my friends on Facebook know this. I officially popped my resignation in on my day job just a couple of weeks ago. So now it's probably the worst kept secret at work at the moment. Everyone seems to know. Doesn't help that they actually advertised my job before they announced my retirement. So sort of people knew much that my job was coming up before they even knew I was leaving. But anyway, so yes, I am retiring effective, or retiring from the paid workforce effective the 20th of January 2022. And I'm hoping to dedicate myself to a lot more of this, of what I love, which is the Stampin' Up and the card making and the crafting. So yeah, watch this space. I'm going to be a lot more active in my crafting, but obviously trying not to be painfully active, but being able to concentrate on what I love next year, which is awesome. I'm really pleased that my husband sort of agreed that he could go back to being the major what's the word, breadwinner for a while, for a few years before he retires. Okay, so I've got that ribbon there, and as again I say, I just want to touch it. It's so nice and textural. Okay, so yeah, I'm really excited about that. I've got a lot to do. Been at the same company for 17 years, so there's a lot of knowledge to hand over, but I don't think they're going to need all of it. I'm sure there's somebody who can do my job probably better than I can. I was saying to someone the other day, you sort of feel like a fraud. I don't know if that's just me. I've spent 17 years feeling a bit of a fraud. So somebody will do it just as easy as I do. Okay, so that's our basic card there. So now we're going to do the fun bit and actually get it decorated. As I said, with this big monstera leaf, it's just a line drawing leaf, and this one I actually wanted a full coloured in leaf, like some of these ones on the picture itself. So I'm going to stamp one with Old Olive ink, just the basic outline, and I'm going to colour it in with my blends. I'm just going to stamp it just in Old Olive, and then I've got my light and dark Old Olive here, and I'm going to just start with the dark and the brush end, and I'm just going to colour it. So it's a bit, you're not going to see the outlines very much. You'll see the veins, but I'm going to just give it a little bit of internal colour. I think probably if they asked me how I could improve this stamp set, I would say I would like an infill stamp for this particular image. I really think it would be good. Probably they can only do so many stamps per set, so I'm sure they thought of it and then decided it could be used better for other stamps, but especially since we have our wonderful blends to fill in our images. But yes, an infill stamp would have been good. Hubby's just come home from the pool by the sounds of things. I'll just check whether that's him. Seems like he's hovering. Okay, so I'm doing this in mostly dark because I want, that's the sort of look I want, but I'll come in around the edges with the light and blend that in. This is my light. And of all the colours, the Old Olive light and dark seems to blend the best, in my opinion. Some of them you doubt that they actually do much of blending, but the Old Olive, I don't know if it's something different in the ink, tends to blend quite well. You can actually see the two colours merge into each other. With some of them you tend to just think, well, that just looks like the same, because maybe the colours are not that much different to each other, the light and the dark. I think that's probably it actually, now I think about it, but the light and the dark Old Olive are quite different. So I'm just filling in the gaps and then with little circular motions, just sort of blurring the edge between the light and the dark there, just to make them merge into each other a little bit. And that just gives our leaf a little bit of edging highlights there. Okay, so I'll just bring that a little bit closer. So there you can see we've got our leaf with his darker veins, because that's where we've done the stamping, and the darker inners and the outs, like light transitioning to the edge. I'll pop that through my cut and emboss machine, but here is one that I did earlier. So I'm going to use this on the front of our card as well. So I've got the sort of what's the word, ferny sort of image there that I've stamped in Just Jade and die cut. He sort of matches the colours on that front really perfectly. Then I've got some of the other dies, and I suppose because this is a more complicated card, I've used the dies from the tropical layers. This is like the veins of the monstera that we were talking about before, so it's about the same size and shape as that stamp. So that's just basically the cardstock version of that little one. This one's sort of like a what would you call that? Like a reedy sort of sort of pine needly sort of one, really, I suppose, but that's not really tropical. This is the sort of outliney version of the bigger stamp that we've got. That's in pepper, old olive. This one's in bumblebee, and this one's in evening evergreen. So I've got those. So basically, I'm just going to do what feels right and pop them on the front of the card, just on the little 4x4 side. I want this one towards the front because that's going to lift. I thought there were a few too many greens there. Not that I thought I'd ever hear myself say that, but a few too many greens. So I thought I'd bring in the bumblebee as well. Just bring that there. I'm going to have this one up there somewhere. And then I've got a little sentiment box from the seasonal layers, which is one of our current mini catalogue ones, die sets, and I'm going to pop that there. So as I said, when it calls itself tropical layers, there is definitely some layering happening there. So it's a sort of card that it just seems to go on and on and on. So yeah, so that's how it's going to look, hopefully, when I've got them all glued down. Sometimes what it looks like when I arrange things isn't necessarily how it looks once I've glued everything down. We'll just start with our big block coloured ones. And our big wisteria that we've blended. Monstera, wisteria, something different again. Monstera. Now these ones that are very fine, just to pop a little bit of glue just on the reedy bits. Have him there. As I say, I wanted that bumblebee just to lift it a tiny bit away from the green, just to give it a little bit of colour, same as we used the pale papaya on the first card. And this one, just again, little bits of glue. Don't need too much. I keep joking, you don't really need your cards being dug up by archaeologists in 1,000 years' time. Nice that they stay together, but you don't want too much glue. Gets a little bit sticky when you do. I might leave this one until I've got my sentiment box down, because I want to just position that just in the right spot. Now, sentiment. Let's see what sentiment. I hadn't got as far as working out what sentiment I was going to use. I'll use the evening evergreen again, and let's have a look and see what sentiments will fit. I'm going to put my stamp set. Stamp set. There's the dies. Am I just looking straight at it and can't see it? Where's the stamp set gone? Oh, way over there. It fell over there. Okay, so which one fits our sentiment box? Sending all the hugs. Yep, that one will fit. So let's just block that one up. Oops, forgive the crash. Just seen my friend Jan join, or probably a little while ago. Sorry, Jan, I just looked up to the comments. Jan should be getting, I think you're getting a delivery today, Jan, from what I can see on the tracking. Very special, you Canberra people getting your deliveries on Saturday. Don't think they do such things here in Hobart. Okay, so sending all the hugs, that fits pretty perfectly. I like that. So I might pop that on some dimensionals just to get it up and away from all those layers that I've piled in there. Trying to find my Saturday morning trial, trying to find large dimensionals. So just pop a couple of dimensionals on there. So if anyone who's been watching regularly and following the saga of my son and his partner moving into their new house, we think we're on the homeward stretch. Their shower bay that they'd been waiting for, oh gosh, 3 or 4 weeks for, finally arrived during the week. So my husband and I took our lunchtimes off and took the trailer over to the plumbing place and picked that up and sort of took it to their house for them. Didn't tell them. We sort of wanted to surprise them, so we lugged it all up the hill, and because their house is on a hill, lugged it up the hill and sort of set it up in place in the bathroom. Didn't do any plumbing in or anything, just sort of opened the boxes and set it up. Took some pictures and sent it to them just to surprise them, to tell them that their shower had arrived. I think both of them were despairing that they wouldn't have it by Christmas, but yeah, so they've got it. So my husband and my son spent yesterday afternoon sort of just getting it ready to be plumbed in. So yeah, we're hopeful that the end is in sight, or the home stretch anyway. So hopefully they might be in their little place by Christmas. Yeah, going to miss them, obviously. It's been over 2 years that they've been with us, but yeah, they're adults. They need their own space. But anyway, it's good. I'm glad they've finally getting some progress. Okay, so I'm going to put our little veiny monstera in place here. Just tuck his little stalk in under the sentiment around wherever I've put that dimensional, and pop it in through there. There we are. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. I like that. So there we are. We have sort of a tropically theme coming from a tropically Hobart today. So there we are. I might just add some of those really nice little glass dimensionals, not dimensionals, embellishments. Here we are. I use the different coloured ones. Now I might use the Just Jade ones because they're going to stand out a tiny bit more. These are really nice. I can see I'm going to get a lot of use of those just because they look so random. They just look, usually you send your dimensionals are all, your dimensionals, I'm going to say it again, aren't I? Your embellishments are all round, or they're all stars, or they're all whatever, but it's really unusual to have them sort of so random like this. Yeah. Okay, they're not very shiny. Maybe I miss that shininess a little bit, but anyway. So there is my told you I wouldn't do it, but I did it anyway, bookbinding card. And as I say, I think it's just a perfect design to show you the designer series paper and the ribbons anyway. So there we go. That's card number 2. How are we going for time? I did say I was only going to take an hour and get out of here. There we are. So that's card number 2. Card number 3. Here we go. So again, I'm going to show you another design from the designer series paper, and I'm going to use the ribbon. And the one thing I'm using in this one that's slightly different is something else that comes with the suite, is what they're calling patterned layered vellum designs. So it's actually vellum, Here is a piece that I got out here. It's actually vellum, so you can see my hand through it. So it's just the normal vellum, but it's been printed. So it's actually got prints on it. So this one that I've chosen to use actually has the sort of similar little script that we've got on our stamp there. It sort of goes sideways and up and down. There's one that's got, you can see at the front there, it's got newsprint. So it's vellum with newsprint printed on it. And there's another one, which I find really interesting, and I can't wait to find something to use it with. And I'll show you it's got like a road map. Isn't that unusual? So vellum with like a road map. I don't know if it's actually a place. It does have a few place names on there, but I'm looking at them from the wrong direction. So it's like a road map with all the veins and the longitude and latitude lines on there, which is it's so cool. And they've got versions of it. So each of those three designs, they've got versions with black ink on vellum, and they've got versions with white ink on vellum. So I don't know if you can see that under my hand, but that's the white map version of it. So yeah, so got newsprint, map, and sort of script versions in black and white ink on vellum. So I'm just going to use this little piece here just on as one of the layers for my card. So this time I'm using a old olive card base, and again I've gone with just my normal old olive, your normal measurements, 8.25 by 5.75. Like that size because it means I don't waste very much cardstock, and I'm very much not wasting. I'm using this particular card, designer series paper this time. It's got again sort of our line drawing palmy sort of palm, that's the word, the palm sort of flowers there on one side, and it's got a really nice old olive sort of almost check on the back. So that one there is really nice. So I'm going to pop the large piece, which is 1/8 of an inch smaller than my card base, so 4 inches by 5 5/8. As much as I hate doing this, I'm going to use the plainer side on that. So there we are. You probably could have done it this a cleverer way and just cut the central panel. Since I'm using the same designer series paper, just cut the central panel out of that because you're not going to see it once I've layered up. But I wasn't thinking too clever this morning when I was designing this one. Then I've got the other side, and this is a 2 1/4 inch piece of the designer series paper, and it's 5, and it's the same height as that one, 5 5/8 it would be. And I've got a piece of old olive that is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So it's 2 3/8 by 5.5. Actually, this is only a 5.5 inch card base. Yes, sorry, this is shorter than normal. It's a 5.5 inch card base. So I'm going to pop that onto there. And so this one's just all layers of cardstock and designer series paper with some decorations on the front. There we have that way. Just like that. So I'm actually going to pop this one straight onto the card base. Nothing too fancy schmancy yet. Slightly over to one side, so slightly over to the right-hand side. But I really like that contrast of the blocky colour and the nice light colours over the top. Okay, just scroll down and see what my messages are doing. That's okay. I've got Anne. Good morning, Anne, and Vicky. Good morning, Vicky. I'll pop through and talk and do my other comments when we finish. Okay, so there. So I have another piece of old olive, and this one's cut to match. So this one is 4 4.8 inches by, I think it's the same 2 1/4 or 2 3/8. So it's the same width as this one, but it's the length of the card rather than the length of side by side. The horizontal width of the card. Just going to sit across like that. And this is the one I'm going to pop the vellum on. So with vellum, it's sometimes a little bit tricky because you'll see the adhesive that you use through it if you're not careful. I'm going to be covering a lot of this with various bits and bobs once I get all my die cuts and everything on. So what I might do is just grab some glue dots and pop them on each corner and stick them that way, or just in from the corner actually, because I've got the best chance of not seeing them if they're a little bit further away from the edge. I do have, when I'm wanting to sort of see the vellum without popping things over the top, there is a great way of spreading your glue. You actually just put your glue on a sponge and just sort of splodge it all the way around your vellum, and it actually sticks without sort of giving you the images of the sort of watermark of the glue through. But it uses a lot of glue, and I don't think it's necessary in this case. As I say, I'm going to be covering it anyway to a certain degree. So there we are. So I've got my vellum on there. You can see it's a nice black writing of sort of that script going sideways and up and down. So this one's going to sit that way, sort of towards the bottom, like that. Trying to work out whether I want to put that on dimensionals or not. No, I'm going to just glue that as well. We've got three double layers happening now. There we are. Okay, so we've got lots of patterns and things happening. Okay, so I've got another piece of our wonderful frayed ribbon, and this time I'm just going to let it go with its fray. I'm going to let it do what comes naturally. I've got it cut to that size now, but I'm actually just going to cut it. I might just leave it. You'll see what I'm going to do with it in a minute. I might decide how short I'm going to cut it in a moment. I've got two of our little palm fronds here. I've got this one. This is Mango Melody, which isn't actually one of the colours that's mentioned on the paper pack, but I've splurged a bit, and I just think that colour will add us a little bit of oomph to it. And the other one is Just Jade, I think. It might be, yeah, it's Just Jade. I think I found a scrap of it in my craft box, so I decided to use it. So I'm going to pop those both on the front of our card. Just going to pop the Just Jade one to the front and just let the lighter one sort of peek through the back. So they're going to sit there like that. Then my frayed ribbon, I'm going to cut to the length, and I'm going to lay that across the front. And then I've got a little scalloped or layered circle. So I've got the scalloped version of the circle in Old Olive and a white one. And I'm going to sit that with my sentiment on just above the whole lot like that. So that's how the card's going to end up eventually. So let's put that together. So first of all, I've got my little fronds, little palm leaves. Kept thinking palm. What am I talking about? Palm. And I was thinking Palm Sunday. At the local church, they always do a parade on Palm Sunday with the palm fronds. And that's what I was thinking of when I saw this. But that's an Easter thing, isn't it? Somebody will tell me. I know all the kids in the kindergarten do it at the Catholic school. I think it's Palm Sunday. That's what that reminds me of. Okay. Hope everyone's gearing up for however you like to spend Christmas, if it's with family or relaxing or in worship, however you like to do it. I know ours ends up being a little combination of all of those. This year we'll maybe have to travel north with our son to visit our son, depending on what holidays he gets from where he's working at the moment. It's not too far. It's only a couple of hours, 3 hours drive away. But yeah, we might have to do that over the period. So might be the last time I see you guys for a little while. I'm not sure if I'm going to get any more videos done during the next couple of weeks or next week or so. Got my dad's 80th birthday party tomorrow. which is a big thing in my family. If you've been listening to me, you know my dad's not been very well, so we honestly didn't know whether he would get to his 80th, but like the stubborn guy he is, he's fighting his cancer and has managed to make it. So we're all very thankful for that. I'm just wondering whether I should have done that at an angle. No, I don't like the angle. I'm going to cut that off straight. Yeah, so we've got that tomorrow, which is really wonderful. We're all hanging out to see if the government introduces mask mandates between then and now as to whether we have to wear a mask tomorrow, but I'm sure probably some of us will anyway, just with Dad being unwell. I know I will. I wore a mask to the local supermarket yesterday and it was murder. People do give you a funny look, but they stay away, which is good. I didn't get attacked by any hawkers or fundraisers, which was the positive side, I thought. Yes, if you can keep them away with a mask, why not? And keep yourself safe. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as it is with square, just square like that. I'm going to pop it down with some, I think glue would be a bit messy with the cloth, so I'm just going to pop some double-sided tape on the back, maybe a couple of rows, just to attach that to my card. That's it. Let's hope it sticks and the back comes off. Best laid plans often don't come off with the double-sided tape. Now that is fraying, which is why it's called frayed lip ribbon, I'm sure. But that doesn't worry me too much. As I say, I think that's a really nice thing with this particular one. Go. Might spend the afternoon around with my son at the house and watch him get that shower in. That's the highlight. So isn't that's really nice? That ribbon's just sits down like that, like a nice sort of flat linen almost, but it's just, yeah, it's really nice. It's got a little glint to it as well, a little shine, little satin shine, which is good. Okay, so that's that. Now let's pop a sentiment on this one. And again, I haven't decided which one I want to use. Oh. And I also don't know where I put the sentiment. There it is. We've used sending all the hugs. We've used the birthday. What about the thank you? Or hey there. I think hey there would be better because it's slightly larger. And again, I'm going to use my nice dark evening evergreen for my sentiment. There he is. It all looks really sort of semi-organised here, but you guys, if anyone sort of panned out, you'd see that there's like a world of mess just outside of screenshot. I'm a bit like the directors that do those amazing movies where they just concentrate on that middle bit. You have your main scene here, but just outside the shot, there's like guys standing with booms and studio and stuff, and you just don't see it because you're concentrating on the bit that's in the camera in the shot. You think you're in a forest or on a sprawling landscape, and you're actually just obviously sitting in the middle of a studio with people standing there on their mobile phones and things. Okay, so we've got hey there. It's a little bit plain actually now I look at it. I wonder whether maybe I can bring in something a little bit just pale in the background. I might bring in our leaf, since we're using our leaves anyway. I might bring in just some leaf just to take the starkness off that sentiment. So just Pear Pizzazz stamped off. I might stamp it off twice, to be honest. And just bring that, just the faintest of colours there, just to take the plainness off that. Can't have plain. Okay, so I will attach that to its little scalloped circle, matching circle. And I will pop this up on dimensionals just there. and it's got some ink on it or something. Okay, so dimensionals again. And this time I'll use the old olive little glass embellishments. So I'm just going to pop that just a little bit over the ribbon, a little bit over the thing, but not really over anything. Just there, off center. There we are. That is so cool. I love this set. Didn't think I was going to. I thought I'd be pushing it, trying to promote it, but I absolutely love it. Okay, so this time we'll use these old olive ones. Find my tool, which I can't. Use this one. Okay, so let's pop those around. And again, I'll pop a couple on the sentiment box and one just off the edge. Yeah, but where? Over here. Okay. And there we have card number 3. That's the last one I'm going to do with you today. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll pop through the comments afterwards. If anyone's got any questions, just pop them in there. So that's our 3rd card using our, if I can find it, Artfully Layered stamp set and the tropical layered dies. Now, as I say, this comes together as the Artfully Composed suite. It's got a real tropical theme. You've got the designer series paper, the stamp set, the dies, the patterned vellum, which is really interesting, the beautiful white ribbon, frayed white ribbon, and our unusual sort of glass polished, random shaped embellishments. So yeah, I hope you really like those. I quite like them. So I've started with something very simple with just the ink and the cardstock. Gone a little bit more up and a little bit more up with our other designs. Doing one of my old favourite book binds as well. Okay, so that's my 3 cards for today. Hopefully you enjoyed all of those. Have a look for this stamp set and bundle when the new catalogue comes out. When it comes to new catalogues, I do have supplies. So if you're in Australia and you don't have a active demonstrator, please send me a message and I'm happy to send you the new catalogue now that I have my supplies in my hot little mitts here at home. So anyway, if I don't talk to you all before, have a lovely Christmas, have a great new year, stay safe, do all the right things we all need to do these days to live our lives, and I will catch you all in the new year. Okay, see you guys.